Picture this. The clock winds down and the stadium is silent except for the heartbeat of thousands of fans. A single player steps onto the field, lining up a 53-yard kick. The snap is clean and the holder is steady. The ball sails perfectly between the uprights. A season, a playoff game, and a city's joy hinge on that one swing of a leg. That moment does not just add 3 points. It decides championships and builds legacies. Kickers are the most undervalued position in the NFL, while quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs dominate headlines. The kicker quietly shifts game outcomes. Analysts call it win probability added. Every make or miss affects the team's chances of winning in measurable ways. Games decided by 3 points or fewer happen more often than fans realize. Over a quarter of all NFL contests end this close. That is leverage waiting to be understood. The 2015 extra point rule change made kickers even more crucial. Moving the point after attempt to the 15-yard line dropped success rates from almost automatic 99% to around 94%. Coaches had to rethink two-point conversions, fourth down decisions, and late-game strategy. The kicker became a strategic chess piece, not a background figure. History proves their importance. Adam Vinatieri made the kicks that won Super Bowl 36 and 38. Those moments changed narratives, shifted momentum, and crowned champions. Today, Justin Tucker continues that tradition with unparalleled accuracy and range, forcing coaches to rethink clock management and defensive strategy. These are not anomalies. They are repeatable results of elite skill and mental toughness. Kicker salaries remain modest compared to other positions, creating a strategic inefficiency. Teams that invest in elite kicking or specialized coaching gain disproportionate advantages in close games. Fans, fantasy players, and bettors can all benefit from understanding the hidden impact of a kicker. It is a lens that changes how the entire game is viewed. The kicker operates under extreme pressure. The mental toughness required is immense. One kick can decide playoff success or failure. Their preparation blends biomechanics, ritual, and psychology. Each successful kick tells a story of precision and resilience. Recognizing their value enriches the fan experience and deepens appreciation for the subtle battles on the field. In this video, we will explore why kickers are undervalued. We will look at historical examples, modern analytics, rule changes, clutch performances, and the mental and strategic demands of the position. We will reveal how teams can exploit this overlooked advantage. Fans will gain a new perspective on every field goal attempt and point after try. We will dive into games decided by 3 points or fewer and show how kicker efficiency shifts outcomes. We will explain win probability added and how one player can change the trajectory of a season. We will highlight legendary moments and current examples, showing the human and strategic elements that make kickers indispensable. You will see visuals of clutch kicks, win probability swings, and historical moments that illustrate their true impact. We will explore how coaches make decisions around kicking and why understanding this position is critical for fans who love smart football. This is the hidden story of the NFL, and it is time kickers receive their recognition. This is more than a tribute to kickers. It is a strategic roadmap, a deep dive into the data, and a celebration of a position that decides championships. By the end of this video, you will understand how kickers quietly define outcomes and why the smartest teams and fans always pay attention to their impact. Ready to see the NFL in a completely new way? The next 20 minutes will change how you watch every game, understand every play, and appreciate the players who quietly win championships one kick at a time. Ready to see the NFL in a completely new way? The next 20 minutes will change how you watch every game, understand every play, and appreciate the players who quietly win championships one kick at a time. In this video, we will explore the hidden power of NFL kickers and why they are one of the most strategically undervalued positions in professional football. We will examine both historical and modern perspectives, drawing from iconic moments, league rule changes, and advanced analytics to show how kickers influence outcomes far beyond the points they score. Our journey will highlight the human skill, mental toughness, and strategic importance of this position in ways that most fans never consider. We will begin by examining the historical context of kicking in the NFL. For decades, kickers were treated as interchangeable roster pieces, often overlooked in favor of quarterbacks, receivers, or defensive stars. Despite this, certain kickers have shaped the outcome of championships. Adam Vinatieri is the classic example. His clutch field goals in Super Bowls 36 and 38 are widely remembered, yet the strategic importance of his position was often underestimated. By analyzing these moments, we will demonstrate how the kicker's role has quietly influenced the greatest games in NFL history. Next, we will break down the statistics that reveal the real impact of kickers. Over a quarter of NFL games are decided by 3 points or fewer, showing that every extra point, field goal attempt, or long-distance kick carries measurable influence. We will explain win probability added and expected points added to advanced metrics that quantify the subtle contributions of kickers. These metrics show that a single field goal can shift a team's chances of winning dramatically, and consistent kicker performance can accumulate into multiple wins over the course of a season. The video will also examine rule changes that have increased the strategic value of kickers. In 2015, the NFL moved the extra point attempt back to the 15-yard line, reducing success rates from almost automatic to meaningful percentages. This change forced coaches to rethink two-point conversion strategies, fourth-down decisions, and late-game play calling. By understanding these rules and their impact, we will highlight why teams that exploit kicker efficiency gain a competitive advantage. We will then turn to modern examples of elite kickers and their influence on the game. Justin Tucker, widely regarded as the most accurate kicker in NFL history, consistently demonstrates how a kicker can dictate the flow of a game. His ability to make long-range kicks under pressure forces defenses and opposing coaches to adjust strategy. By studying his performance data and comparing it with other top kickers, we will illustrate the measurable difference between elite specialists and average performers. The introduction will also explore the psychological and physical demands of kicking. Kickers operate under immense pressure, often facing moments where one miss could determine the outcome of a playoff game. Their training combines biomechanics, repetitive practice, mental visualization, and routine to deliver consistent results. We will highlight how these elements create not just skilled athletes, but specialized performers capable of influencing high-stakes games. Another key topic we will cover is the financial and strategic efficiency of the kicker position. Compared to quarterbacks and defensive stars, kicker salaries are modest, yet the impact of an elite kicker on game outcomes is disproportionately high. Teams that recognize this inefficiency can invest strategically, creating advantages that are invisible to casual fans but crucial for playoff success. By analyzing salary data alongside performance metrics, we will reveal the untapped potential in roster construction. We will also discuss the evolving strategic use of kickers in NFL history. From long field goals to clutch extra points, kickers have been central to game-changing moments. Yet their contributions were often overlooked in broader tactical planning. Using historical footage and game-by-game analysis, we will show how teams have gradually recognized the strategic power of kickers, and how modern analytics are now formalizing that understanding. The video will incorporate visual and statistical explanations to make the concepts accessible. We will show win probability charts for game-deciding kicks, side-by-side comparisons of kicker performance over decades, and graphs illustrating the effect of rule changes on point-after attempts. These visuals will make clear the measurable and often dramatic impact of kickers on NFL strategy. In addition to analytics, we will include fan-focused storytelling. By recounting memorable clutch kicks, late-game heroics, and playoff-deciding field goals, we will provide a narrative that captures both the drama and the strategic significance of the kicker position. Fans will relive the tension, excitement, and emotional swings that occur every time a kicker lines up under pressure. We will also highlight how understanding kickers can enhance fantasy football, sports betting, and general NFL analysis. Fans who appreciate the hidden value of kickers can make smarter draft choices, better game predictions, and more informed discussions about team strategy. Recognizing the strategic blind spots surrounding kickers gives fans an insider perspective that elevates their engagement with the game. Our introduction will outline all 15 core sections of the video. Each section will cover a specific theme, such as historical underappreciation, statistical analysis, clutch performances, rule changes, mental toughness, strategic decision-making, salary efficiency, and modern examples of elite kickers. We will also examine team approaches to special teams, lessons for future strategy, and the potential for kickers to reshape NFL outcomes if properly valued. Throughout the video, we will maintain a positive and fan-engaging tone. This is a celebration of the skill, preparation, and influence of NFL kickers. While we present analytics and historical facts, our narrative will emphasize the excitement, drama, and heroism inherent in this overlooked position. We will demonstrate that kickers are not just role players, but pivotal contributors whose impact is often hidden yet decisive. By the end of the introduction, viewers will have a clear understanding of why kickers matter, how they influence game outcomes, and the strategic opportunities teams can exploit. They will be prepared to engage with the subsequent detailed sections, which will explore each theme with in-depth examples, statistics, and storytelling that highlight the full significance of the position. This introduction sets the stage for a comprehensive exploration of NFL kickers as strategic assets. We will combine historical context, analytics, human performance insights, and modern examples to provide a thorough and engaging perspective. Fans will gain a new appreciation for every field goal, extra point, and clutch kick, understanding how these moments accumulate into victories and championships. Finally, the video will challenge common perceptions. Kickers are no longer background figures or interchangeable specialists. They are measurable influencers, strategic assets, and often the deciding factor in close games. By following this introduction, viewers will be ready to see the NFL through a new lens, appreciating the combination of skill, strategy, and mental toughness that defines the kicker position. Ready to uncover the hidden world of NFL kickers, their historic influence, and the strategic insights that can change the game. We begin our exploration of NFL kickers by examining the historical undervaluation of this position, a phenomenon that has persisted for decades despite the undeniable impact kickers have on game outcomes. For much of the league's history, kickers were considered interchangeable roster pieces, drafted late, signed as temporary specialists, or, in some cases, recruited from other positions entirely. Their contribution was often measured simply by whether they made a kick or not, without appreciating the broader strategic effect of their performance. While quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and defensive stars dominated headlines and commanded top salaries, kickers quietly accumulated wins and shaped championships. Adam Vinatieri serves as the most compelling historical example of this trend. His Super Bowl 36 and 38 kicks were not merely points on the board. They were decisive moments that rewrote outcomes under enormous pressure. These moments reveal a recurring theme. Kickers are often invisible architects of NFL victories, quietly influencing games that are remembered for years, yet rarely acknowledged in the larger strategic conversation. In the early decades of professional football, kicking was largely a peripheral skill. Teams often relied on part-time kickers, players who also contributed in other positions, such as linebacker, fullback, or wide receiver. Specialization was minimal. Practice routines rarely focused exclusively on kicking mechanics, and the position was viewed as expendable. Field goals were infrequent attempts, and point-after-touchdown conversions were considered routine. Many teams believed that scoring points through kicking was supplemental, not foundational. Even when a kicker possessed extraordinary accuracy or range, This skill was undervalued compared to the perceived impact of skill position players. Despite these perceptions, records show that games were often decided by a handful of points, highlighting the unseen influence of the kicker's role. As the NFL evolved, certain kickers emerged who challenged the perception of the position as marginal. In the 1960s and 1970s, the league began to see the rise of specialists who dedicated themselves entirely to kicking. Players such as Jan Stenrod and Garo Yepremian demonstrated that the role required unique skill, mental discipline, and precise technique. Field goal percentages gradually improved, aided by the adoption of soccer-style kicking, which allowed for longer and more accurate attempts. Teams began to recognize the importance of consistency, especially in close contests, and coaches started to consider kicker reliability when making late-game decisions. Despite these improvements, broader media coverage, fan discussions, front office priorities still focus primarily on offensive and defensive stars. Kickers were rarely highlighted for their contributions, even when their performances were directly responsible for victories. Historical data underscores the significance of kickers, even when they were undervalued. Studies of NFL games show that over a quarter of contests are decided by 3 points or fewer, meaning that a single successful field goal or point-after attempt can determine a win or loss. Win probability added and expected points added. Metrics developed decades later quantify this effect and reveal the real leverage kickers provide. Even before these metrics existed, savvy coaches understood the practical importance of reliable kickers. Yet, despite their critical contributions, financial investment in kickers lagged far behind investment in more visible positions. This created a systemic undervaluation that persisted well into the modern era. Rule changes over the decades further illustrate the evolving recognition of kicker importance. In the mid-20th century, the NFL moved goalposts and standardized distances for kicks. Straightened kicking techniques gave way to soccer-style approaches, dramatically improving accuracy and increasing the effective range. Despite these improvements, coaching and front office strategies did not fully integrate the kicker's potential into broader decision-making processes. Fourth down plays, end-of-half field goal attempts, and overtime strategy were often calculated with insufficient consideration of kicker skill. Historical footage from playoff games and championship contests demonstrates that an exceptional kick often tipped the balance of power, yet fans and analysts alike frequently overlooked these pivotal moments in favor of quarterback heroics. The psychological and emotional dimensions of kicking also contribute to the undervaluation of the position. Kicking under pressure requires an extraordinary combination of focus, calm, and confidence. A single kick can swing momentum, alter team morale, and influence the flow of a game in ways that are not always visible on the stat sheet. Iconic moments, such as Vinatieri's Super Bowl. Kicks are as much about the mental discipline required to succeed under extreme pressure as they are about physical skill. Today, modern kickers continue to demonstrate the same mental toughness. But for much of NFL history, these qualities were underappreciated or undervalued in roster decisions and media narratives. Another aspect of historical undervaluation is financial. Even elite kickers often earned modest salaries compared to other positions with similar or even less measurable impact on game outcomes. This disparity created opportunities for teams willing to invest in skill and consistency at the position. Teams that recognize the leverage provided by an elite kicker could secure wins in close games and potentially alter playoff trajectories without committing disproportionately to salary cap resources. The economic inefficiency of kicker valuation has persisted, leaving a clear opportunity for teams and analysts to rethink strategic priorities. We also explore how cultural perceptions shaped the role of the kicker. The position has historically been seen as low risk, low reward, and sometimes ceremonial. Fans focus on touchdown drives, quarterback highlights, and defensive stops, while kickers are treated as background contributors, yet historical narratives are full of evidence to the contrary. Games decided in the final seconds, playoff victories clinched by a single kick. and championship outcomes determined by reliability all show that kickers deserve strategic consideration equal to other skill positions. Recognizing this value is not just a modern development. It has roots in decades of pivotal NFL moments. In addition to performance, the evolution of training and preparation demonstrates the hidden strategic power of kickers. Over time, teams began investing in specialized coaching, biomechanics analysis, and mental training for kickers. These developments improved both accuracy and consistency. Today, elite kickers like Justin Tucker are the product of decades of refinement in training methodologies. Yet the underlying undervaluation persists because many organizations have historically prioritized more visible positions. The contrast between investment and impact highlights the potential gains available to teams that strategically exploit the role of the kicker. Finally, this historical perspective sets the stage for understanding the modern strategic environment. The NFL has gradually incorporated analytics, advanced metrics, and situational data into decision-making, increasing the visibility of kicker contributions. Historical undervaluation creates a baseline from which modern teams can measure the opportunity cost of neglecting the position. By understanding how kickers shaped games in the past and how they continue to influence outcomes today, fans, analysts, and team decision-makers can appreciate the hidden power that kickers provide. In conclusion, the historical undervaluation of kickers is not merely an anecdotal observation. It is a pattern revealed through decades of play, statistical records, rule changes, psychological demands, and financial disparities. By studying the evolution of the position, from part-time specialists to modern masters of accuracy and range, we see the persistent strategic blind spot that has left teams and fans underestimating a critical source of wins. Every clutch kick, every playoff field goal, and every season-deciding extra point tells a story of opportunity and leverage that was often overlooked. Recognizing this history allows us to better appreciate the present and anticipate future strategic exploitation of the kicker position in the NFL. The modern NFL has elevated the role of the kicker beyond what most fans realize, thanks to the integration of analytics, strategic planning, and situational awareness. Today, kickers are no longer viewed merely as role players who add 3 points here or there. They are critical contributors whose performance can directly influence playoff berths, win-loss records, and even coaching decisions. One of the key tools for understanding the kicker's impact is win probability added, a metric that quantifies how much a specific play increases a team's chances of winning. A successful long-range field goal in the fourth quarter can swing win probability dramatically, while a missed point after touchdown can force a team into riskier decisions. By analyzing these metrics, modern teams have begun to recognize the underappreciated leverage that skilled kickers provide. Rule changes over the past decade have also increased the strategic value of the kicker. The 2015 modification that moved the extra point attempt back to the 15-yard line reduced the near-automatic success rate from almost 100% to roughly 94%. While this may seem minor, it created a new layer of strategy for coaches who now have to weigh the risks of a 2-point conversion versus relying on a kicker for an extra point. Analysts observed that teams with reliable kickers were more willing to play conservatively in close games, trusting the kicker to deliver the necessary points, while teams with less consistent kicking performance had to take greater risks. This change emphasizes that modern kickers are not just specialists, but strategic assets, whose reliability can dictate broader game planning. Modern analytics also highlight the importance of field goal range. In previous eras, coaches were more conservative with long-distance attempts, often punting on fourth down rather than trusting a kicker to attempt a 50-yard field goal. Today, statisticians have shown that successful long-range kickers provide measurable added value. Teams can calculate expected points based on field position and kicker accuracy, giving coaches a data-driven rationale for attempting longer kicks. This approach has led to more aggressive game management and a reevaluation of kicker importance in roster construction. Kickers who can reliably make 50-plus yard attempts add strategic flexibility, allowing teams to keep drives alive and force opponents to adjust their defensive schemes. The rise of elite kickers in the modern era demonstrates the practical application of this data. Justin Tucker is widely considered the most accurate kicker in NFL history, achieving success rates above 90% even on long-distance attempts. His consistency changes how opposing teams defend drives and manage the clock. With a kicker of Tucker's caliber, a team can confidently attempt field goals in situations that would have been considered too risky in previous decades. This creates a ripple effect throughout game strategy, influencing fourth down decisions, play calling near the red zone, and even time management in critical situations. Consistency and reliability are not the only factors. The psychological impact of modern kickers has also become a strategic consideration. A kicker who consistently makes clutch kicks puts pressure on opposing defenses, forcing them to anticipate field goal situations rather than risk aggressive fourth down attempts. This dynamic can subtly alter opponent behavior, creating advantages that are difficult to quantify but very real in practice. Coaches have learned to factor kicker confidence into their broader strategic decisions, recognizing that the mental state of a reliable kicker can directly affect game outcomes. Another important trend is the investment in specialized coaching and training for kickers. Teams now employ kicking coaches who focus solely on mechanics, mental preparation, and game simulation. Biomechanics analysis, video review, and repetition under simulated pressure have all contributed to increasing accuracy rates. In addition, sports psychologists work with kickers to maintain focus and composure during high-pressure situations. These developments reflect the growing recognition that kickers are not interchangeable athletes but highly specialized professionals whose preparation has direct strategic consequences. The evolution of kicking strategy also intersects with roster management and salary cap considerations. Despite their critical contributions, even elite kickers are relatively modest earners compared to quarterbacks, defensive linemen, or wide receivers. This creates a strategic inefficiency that teams can exploit. By investing in a top-tier kicker, teams can secure a disproportionate impact on close games without allocating excessive resources elsewhere. This principle of leverage demonstrates that kickers can provide one of the highest returns on investment in professional sports, particularly in seasons where multiple games are decided by narrow margins. Modern statistics further reinforce the argument for strategic investment in kickers. Analyses of win-loss records, scoring differentials, and game-deciding situations consistently show that teams with above-average kickers outperform expectations in close contests. For instance, teams with kickers who maintain 90% accuracy on long-range attempts see measurable increases in fourth-quarter win probability. These findings underscore that the value of kickers extends beyond the scoreboard, influencing game flow, clock management, and opponent strategy. We must also consider the growing influence of advanced analytics and situational football. Every drive, fourth down attempt, and field goal opportunity can now be modeled probabilistically. Coaches can calculate the expected value of kicking versus punting or attempting a two-point conversion. Kickers who are statistically reliable enhance these models, providing the foundation for confident, data-driven decision-making. The integration of analytics into coaching highlights the strategic leverage of the kicker position, transforming what was once an overlooked skill into a central component of modern game planning. Additionally, media coverage and fan engagement have begun to reflect this evolution. Highlights of clutch kicks, record-breaking distances, and game-deciding points are increasingly celebrated, elevating the profile of the position. Social media and fantasy football platforms have amplified the visibility of kickers, encouraging fans to appreciate the technical precision and psychological resilience required. This shift in perception aligns with the data, reinforcing the message that kickers are no longer peripheral but central to both game outcomes and fan narratives. The modern NFL also emphasizes versatility in kicking. Beyond traditional field goals and extra points, kickers contribute to kickoff strategies touchback percentages, and field position management. Teams recognize that controlling the opening and closing phases of each half can be influenced by the kicker's leg strength and accuracy. This adds another layer of strategic importance, demonstrating that kickers impact not just scoring, but overall field management and game tempo. Furthermore, the modern approach to kicker evaluation is more holistic. Performance metrics now include situational success rates, long-distance accuracy, performance under pressure, consistency across multiple seasons, and even psychological resilience. This comprehensive evaluation ensures that teams identify kickers who offer both statistical and strategic advantages. The result is a redefinition of the position from a secondary contributor to a core strategic asset capable of influencing the outcome of games in measurable ways. Finally, this batch establishes a foundation for understanding why modern kickers are pivotal in NFL strategy. From analytics and rule changes to psychological preparation and roster management, the contemporary kicker is a player whose influence extends far beyond the visible points on the scoreboard. Teams that recognize and exploit this value gain measurable advantages, while fans who understand these dynamics enjoy a deeper appreciation of every game. The kicker is no longer invisible. Their impact is quantifiable, strategic, and essential to modern football. Ready to examine the pivotal moments in history and analytics that reveal exactly how kickers decide games and define seasons. In this section, we will focus on clutch performances that define the NFL narrative and highlight the strategic importance of kickers. Clutch kicking moments are more than dramatic highlights. They are measurable events that shift momentum, win probability, and team confidence. Throughout NFL history, there are numerous examples where a single field goal or extra point has determined playoff outcomes or championship victories. Adam Vinatieri's Super Bowl kicks are the most cited examples, but other kickers, both past and present, have similarly altered the course of games under immense pressure. These moments emphasize that the kicker's contribution is not ancillary, but central to a team's success in critical situations. To understand the impact of clutch kicking, we can analyze win probability charts. When a kicker attempts a long-range field goal in the final minutes of a close game, their success can increase the team's chance of winning by more than 20% in some scenarios. Conversely, a missed kick can have an equivalent negative effect, forcing teams to make higher-risk decisions on subsequent possessions. These shifts are quantifiable, showing that kickers provide measurable leverage in the most pivotal moments of a season. Every point is not just a point. It is a strategic tool that coaches and analysts can exploit when properly understood. The psychological element of clutch kicking cannot be overstated. Kickers operate in a high-pressure environment where one mistake can change playoff trajectories or determine careers. Mental preparation, routine, and focus are as important as physical skill. Modern kickers often use visualization techniques, breathing exercises, and pre-snap rituals to maintain composure. These practices are rooted in both historical experience and sports psychology, demonstrating that elite performance under pressure is deliberate and repeatable. Fans often see only the final outcome, but the preparation behind every kick is meticulously engineered to maximize success. We can also explore statistical comparisons to highlight the influence of clutch kickers. Teams with above-average kickers in high-pressure situations win significantly more games decided by 3 points or fewer than teams with average or below-average kickers. This pattern is observable across decades, illustrating that clutch kicking is not a modern anomaly, but a consistent factor in NFL outcomes. Even minor improvements in kicker accuracy can have exponential effects over a season, making them high-value contributors that deserve strategic attention. Historical moments beyond Vinatieri also illustrate clutch kicking impact. Morton Anderson, one of the most prolific kickers in NFL history, consistently delivered points in pressure situations, influencing playoff berths and game outcomes over a career that spanned more than 2 decades. Contemporary kickers like Justin Tucker continue this tradition. demonstrating that skill, consistency, and mental fortitude are central to winning strategies. By studying these examples, fans and analysts can appreciate the depth of influence that kickers exert on the game. Clutch kicking is also a driver of narrative and fan engagement. Memorable kicks become cultural touchpoints, frequently replayed in highlight reels and discussed in commentary. These moments contribute to the storytelling of the league and emphasize the importance of accuracy, range, and timing. Beyond statistics, fans emotionally connect with the tension and release provided by clutch kicks, reinforcing the value of the kicker's role in both the strategic and cultural fabric of the NFL. The evolution of coaching strategy has amplified the importance of clutch kicking. Coaches now design late-game strategies with kicker reliability in mind, adjusting fourth down decisions, timeout usage, and drive management based on field goal probability. The integration of situational analytics ensures that the kicker is not an afterthought, but a central figure in orchestrating game-ending plays. This shift represents a significant departure from historical undervaluation, demonstrating how modern teams exploit opportunities that were previously overlooked. Advanced metrics further illustrate the significance of clutch kicking. Analysts measure performance under high-leverage situations, including fourth-quarter field goals, playoff scenarios, and long-distance attempts under pressure. These metrics reveal that successful kickers consistently outperform expectations, while missed attempts can drastically reduce a team's chances of victory. By quantifying these effects, teams gain actionable insight into roster decisions and game strategy, positioning kickers as integral contributors rather than supplemental players. Fan perception of clutch kicking has also evolved. Social media and digital platforms now amplify kicker highlights, encouraging fans to appreciate the complexity and precision required for each attempt. Fantasy football and betting markets further reinforce the importance of understanding kicker value, as points scored by kickers can swing season-long outcomes and wagers. Fans who recognize the influence of clutch kicking gain an enriched perspective, enhancing both enjoyment and strategic engagement with the sport. Another dimension of clutch kicking is its influence on opponent strategy. A kicker who demonstrates consistent range and accuracy forces opposing defenses to adjust coverage, anticipate fourth down scenarios, and modify end-of-half strategies. This indirect influence is often invisible in traditional statistics, but has measurable strategic consequences. Teams with elite kickers gain both direct scoring benefits and tactical advantages that ripple throughout each game, illustrating why kickers are more than just point scorers. Clutch kicking also intersects with special team strategy. Kickoffs, onside kicks, and touchback percentages all rely on the kicker's ability to control the game's opening and closing moments. These elements influence field position, drive success rates, and overall team efficiency. By integrating these considerations into coaching strategy, teams elevate the kicker from a marginal contributor to a central tactical asset, whose impact is measurable across multiple dimensions of the game. Finally, analyzing clutch kicking provides a blueprint for how teams can maximize the value of the position. By combining mental preparation, advanced analytics, biomechanical training, and situational awareness, teams can exploit the hidden leverage of kickers. This holistic approach ensures that each kick, whether a 20-yard extra point or a 60-yard field goal, contributes strategically to the team's success. Fans who appreciate this framework gain a deeper understanding of why kickers are essential to both individual games and season-long success. Rule changes, distance statistics, and situational performance. Why kickers have become more valuable than ever in the evolution of the NFL. Few positions have undergone such a quiet but profound transformation as the kicker. While quarterbacks, wide receivers, and defensive stars often dominate the headlines, kickers have steadily become more central to how games are won and lost. Much of this shift is due to the NFL's ever-changing rulebook, the increasing distances kickers are now expected to master, and the razor-thin margins that define situational performance in the modern league. To fully understand why kickers are more valuable today than ever before, we need to trace how these three elements rules. Distance and game situation have combined to elevate their importance, even if the spotlight does not always reflect that reality. Let's begin with rule changes. Because the NFL's ongoing adjustments to the game have created both new challenges and new opportunities for kickers. One of the most significant moves came in 2015, when the league voted to push extra point attempts back from the 2-yard line to the 15-yard line, effectively turning what was once a near-automatic play into a genuine test of skill. Before this change, extra points had a conversion rate of over 99%, making them an afterthought. After the rule shift, accuracy dropped, and suddenly a team's kicker became a potential difference maker on every touchdown scored. This single rule change turned routine moments into strategic ones, forcing coaches and fans alike to pay closer attention to the man with the golden foot. Another impactful rule change was the decision to move kickoffs up to the 35-yard line in 2011. This adjustment increased the number of touchbacks, reducing kickoff returns but placing greater emphasis on the kicker's ability to control field position. No longer was the kickoff just about raw leg strength. Precision, hang time, and directional kicking began to matter more than ever. In this way, the kicker's role in setting the tone for defensive field position grew, even though the impact was subtle and often underappreciated by casual viewers. Coaches, however, knew exactly how valuable it was to start an opponent's drive deep in their own territory. We also cannot ignore the field goal game itself, and how distance has evolved as a defining marker of a kicker's worth. Decades ago, a 50-yard field goal was viewed as a rare spectacle, a high-risk attempt that fans would marvel at if it sailed through the uprights. Today, 50-plus yard kicks are almost routine for elite kickers, and the expectation has shifted. In the 1970s, the league-wide success rate on kicks of 50 yards or longer hovered around 30%. By the 2020s, that number has risen to over 65%. That's not just improvement, it's a revolution in skill. Players like Justin Tucker have expanded the boundaries of what's possible. Tucker's legendary 66-yard field goal in 2021, which set the NFL record, was not a fluke but the culmination of decades of advancement in training, technique, and mental preparation. Today, teams draft and develop kickers with the knowledge that games will often come down to their ability to connect from 50 or 55 yards under pressure. These long-range kicks are no longer Hail Mary attempts. They are calculated, realistic plays that can completely alter the outcome of a season. And that brings us to the third pillar, situational performance. Few positions in football are more defined by moments of high-stakes execution than the kicker. Quarterbacks can have an off day and still find redemption with a clutch drive. Running backs may fumble early, but bounce back with a breakaway run. But a kicker is remembered almost exclusively for whether they make or miss the kick that decides the game. The pressure is immense, and the margin for error is vanishingly small. Statistics tell the story. Since 2000, more than 25% of all NFL games have been decided by 3 points or fewer. In these contests, the kicker's role is magnified. When teams battle evenly for 60 minutes, it is often the kicker who holds the key to victory. A 45-yard field goal with seconds left on the clock can turn a 1-2 start into a season-saving 2-1 record. A miss, on the other hand, can haunt not only the kicker, but the entire team's playoff aspirations. That's why coaches often speak about the kicker as the most high-pressure player on the roster, even if fans don't always view them in that light. Consider the 2007 New England Patriots, who finished their regular season 16-0. Many remember Tom Brady's touchdowns, Randy Moss's deep catches, and a suffocating defense. But few remember that Stephen Gostkowski's consistency in both extra points and field goals ensured that the Patriots capitalized on nearly every scoring opportunity. Even though he wasn't the face of the team, his situational excellence quietly underpinned one of the greatest regular seasons in NFL history. Situational performance doesn't just apply to game-winning kicks either. A kicker's ability to execute in less dramatic but still crucial moments, such as hitting a 42-yarder in the second quarter to keep momentum alive, can shift the emotional rhythm of a game. Coaches understand that points are points, whether scored in the first or final seconds. The kicker, therefore, serves as both a stabilizer and a closer, capable of shifting momentum and sealing victories. As we piece these threads together, rule changes, evolving distance expectations, and situational pressure, the picture becomes clear. Kickers have never been more valuable to the strategic framework of the NFL. Every rule adjustment seems to put more weight on their shoulders. Every season pushes the limits of their range further downfield. And every game situation highlights just how much rides on their precision. Yet, despite all of this, kickers remain underrated in the broader conversation about football strategy. Fans marvel at quarterbacks throwing 60-yard bombs, but rarely give the same recognition to a kicker, drilling a 55-yard field goal into the wind with playoff hopes on the line. Analysts dissect a coach's decision to go for it on 4th and 2, but often gloss over how that decision might hinge entirely on trust in the kicker's leg. The irony is clear. While the game increasingly revolves around kickers in decisive moments, their role is still treated as secondary in the media narrative. Looking ahead, this undervaluation may shift. As teams become more data-driven, the kicker's contribution is being measured with greater clarity. Advanced analytics now track kicker performance by weather, stadium, pressure situations, and even kicking surfaces. Coaches are armed with more information than ever before, and those who understand the value of a reliable kicker can gain a genuine edge. Imagine two evenly matched playoff teams, one with an elite kicker and one with a shaky one. Who do you trust to make the decisive play when the clock winds down? That question alone reveals the growing importance of this position. Fans are also beginning to appreciate the drama of the kicking game in new ways. Social media has made viral moments out of incredible long-distance makes or heartbreaking misses, giving kickers their own form of highlight culture. This visibility, combined with evolving strategic importance, may finally push the position into the respect it has long deserved. In short, the modern NFL has created an environment where kickers are not just participants, but central figures in the outcome of games. The rules make their job harder. The expectations for distance make their performances more impressive. And the situational stakes make their contributions more decisive than ever before. The next time a kicker lines up for a long field goal, remember, you are not just watching a specialist. You are watching one of the most vital strategic players in today's NFL. In the high-stakes environment of the National Football League, few positions embody mental toughness quite like the kicker. The quarterback may carry the spotlight. The linebacker may bring the energy. But the kicker walks onto the field with a different type of burden. For them, there is no second down, no next drive, no time to recalibrate after a miss. A kicker must step into the pressure cooker, often in front of millions, and deliver perfection in a single motion. What separates the good from the great is not merely leg strength, but the invisible skill of psychological resilience. Mental toughness for kickers is less about brute confidence and more about emotional control. Unlike other athletes who can lean on constant rhythm, kickers spend long stretches on the sidelines in waiting mode. Their body cools down, their mind has time to wander. And yet, at any moment, they may be called upon to decide the outcome of the game. This duality, long moments of silence, followed by one snap of chaos, requires the ability to silence intrusive thoughts and lean on routine. Sports psychologists often describe it as mental reset, the process by which kickers strip away the weight of context and focus entirely on execution. One of the best-known examples of mental toughness in kickers came from Adam Vinatieri, when the Patriots relied on him in a snowstorm during the 2001 AFC Divisional Playoff. The world witnessed what calm under pressure looks like. Not only did Vinashri nail the 45-yard kick through brutal wind and blizzard conditions, but he followed it up with another game winner in overtime. Those moments weren't accidents. They were products of years of psychological preparation, self-belief, and mastery over the noise of external factors. Fans didn't just see a kick, they saw the embodiment of trust in the face of chaos. Modern sports psychology has revealed just how much science underpins this resilience. Kickers routinely engage in visualization techniques, where they close their eyes and rehearse the process of success approach, plant foot, contact, follow through over and over until it feels second nature. This mental rehearsal mirrors actual neural pathways, meaning the brain responds as though the action were truly happening. The more vivid the visualization, the more confidently the kicker can step into the real situation, having lived the kick hundreds of times before attempting it. Breathing strategies also play an enormous role in calming the body. NFL kickers, like top-tier golfers or Olympic archers, often use slow diaphragmatic breathing to lower heart rate before critical kicks. The heart might be pounding at 140 beats per minute in the final moments of a close game, but through controlled breath, that rate can be pulled down to manageable levels. By the time the ball is snapped, the kicker's body is steady, the nerves are settled, and the motion is fluid. Fans may never see this behind-the-scenes discipline, but it is foundational to every successful field goal. Pressure doesn't only come from game situations, it also emerges from scrutiny. Kickers live under a microscope where one mistake can overshadow weeks of flawless play. A quarterback can throw an interception and still win redemption with the next touchdown drive. A wide receiver can drop a ball and get another target. But when a kicker misses, the narrative is swift and brutal. Social media explodes, headlines scream, and fan bases can turn overnight. To handle this, kickers must cultivate a resilience that filters out noise, focusing only on their personal standard and the trust of their teammates. One shining example of this mental armor is Justin Tucker, widely regarded as the best kicker in NFL history. Tucker's routine is so meticulous that it borders on ritual. He aligns his steps with mathematical precision, practices kicks in exact sequences, and even treats warm-ups as simulations of pressure. What fans see is not only accuracy, but the result of psychological training that has conditioned him to treat a game-winning 66-yard attempt like just another kick in practice. His world record kick in Detroit in 2021 showcased not just leg strength, but an unshakable mental framework that allowed him to thrive with history on the line. The preparation of kickers often extends into embracing pressure rather than running from it. Many elite kickers simulate crowd noise during practice, blasting stadium sounds through speakers as they rehearse. Others deliberately practice in adverse conditions, kicking in wind tunnels or on uneven fields, so that when the real moment comes, nothing feels unfamiliar. This is the psychology of inoculation, exposing oneself to stress in a controlled environment to build immunity when stress arrives for real. By repeatedly rehearsing under discomfort, kickers develop the confidence that no situation is too overwhelming. Beyond practice, mentorship and community support play roles in reinforcing mental toughness. Veteran kickers often share wisdom with younger players, teaching them not only about mechanics, but also about the mental highs and lows of the profession. Some teams even employ mental coaches to ensure their specialists are equipped to manage pressure. The psychological aspect has grown to such importance that franchises are investing resources specifically in this area, acknowledging that a kicker-esque composure is just as valuable as a quarterback-esque vision or a linebacker-esque instinct. But perhaps the most fascinating element of kicker psychology is the acceptance of failure. No kicker is perfect, not even the legends. Even Hall of Famers like Morton Anderson and Gary Anderson endured misses that stung. The key is not in avoiding mistakes, but in how quickly they are released. A great kicker has the memory of goldfish not in ignoring accountability, but in refusing to carry one miss into the next attempt. This discipline to reset is a cornerstone of why some kickers endure for decades, while others fade after a few rough seasons. For fans, it's easy to overlook the invisible battles kickers fight before every kick. They are not just competing with defenders trying to block the ball or weather conditions threatening trajectory. They are also battling their own minds. Yet it is precisely this duel with pressure that makes their success so compelling. Every made field goal is a triumph of calm over chaos, a reminder that mental strength is as vital as physical talent in the NFL. The story of kickers is, at its core, a story of athletes who thrive under impossible stakes. They have embraced the reality that their careers hinge not on how high they jump or how fast they run, but on how composed they remain when the entire stadium holds its breath. That unique brand of mental toughness not only defines the kicker's craft, but also elevates their importance in the broader narrative of football. As the league continues to evolve, this mental dimension is only becoming more celebrated. With games tighter than ever and parity across teams increasing, the margin for error shrinks. More contests are being decided by a single score, and more often than not, that score comes from the foot of a kicker. Fans, analysts, and teams are beginning to recognize that the psychological resilience of kickers is not just admirable, it is essential to winning football. Throughout the history of the NFL, a handful of moments have demonstrated beyond any doubt that kickers are far more than specialists tucked into the sidelines. They are game changers, destiny shapers, and sometimes the single difference between a team's name etched into Lombardi glory or fading into postseason heartbreak. Their moments often arrive in silence, with millions holding their breath before erupting into chaos when the ball sails true. These defining kicks have not only decided games, but they have rewritten how fans, coaches, and players alike perceive the importance of the kicking position. Let us go back to 1970, the year Tom Dempsey made history with his legendary 63-yard field goal for the New Orleans Saints. Dempsey, who was born without toes on his right foot and without fingers on his right hand, struck the ball with his modified shoe and stunned the world. It wasn't just about distance, it was about courage, determination, and proving that limitations mean nothing on the football field. That single kick shattered records, became a symbol of resilience, and showed every fan that a kicker could produce a highlight as immortal as any. Quarterback touchdown. Then came 1982, the moment remembered as the kick heard round the world. Washington kicker Mark Mosley, the last straight-and-style kicker in NFL history, nailed a 48-yard field goal in a driving snowstorm against the Dallas Cowboys. That win secured Washington's playoff spot and sparked their eventual run to the Super Bowl XVII championship. Fans didn't just cheer the victory, they saw firsthand that one swing of a kicker's leg could alter the entire playoff bracket, changing not only a game, but the narrative of a season. Fast forward to 1991, when Gary Anderson of the Minnesota Vikings put together the first perfect season in modern NFL history, going 35 for 35 on field goals and 59 for 59 on extra points. He showed that consistency from a kicker was not just valuable, but essential for teams chasing championships. Even though his later missed field goal in the 1998 NFC Championship is remembered painfully by Vikings fans, his perfect year cemented the idea that kickers were not just last resort options. They were weapons that could carry a team's confidence through an entire season. Few moments shine brighter than Adam Vinatieri's iconic playoff kicks for the New England Patriots. His 45-yard field goal through the swirling blizzard of the tuck rule game in 2001 against the Raiders is etched into NFL mythology. The snow was thick, visibility was low, but Vinatieri was unshaken. He tied the game, then won it in overtime, and the Patriots went on to launch a dynasty that would change the league. Vinatieri did it again, not once, but twice in the Super Bowl, delivering the winning kicks in Super Bowl 36 and Super Bowl 38. Without Vinatieri, Tom Brady's early career story may have looked very different. Those moments underscore that championships are not only about quarterbacks and coaches. They are also about the calm foot of a kicker. In 2007, the New York Giants faced the undefeated New England Patriots in Super Bowl 42. Everyone remembers Eli Manning's helmet catch to David Tyree. But kicker Lawrence Tynes deserves his spotlight as well. 2 weeks earlier, in the NFC Championship against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field, Tynes had missed 2 field goals in brutal cold. Yet, with everything on the line in overtime, he calmly drilled a 47-yarder to send the Giants to the Super Bowl. That redemption story remains one of the most powerful narratives in playoff history. It proved that kickers could not only change outcomes, but also embody the themes of resilience and redemption that make sports so beloved. In more recent history, Justin Tucker's 66-yard field goal in 2021 against the Detroit Lions redefined the boundaries of possibility. As the longest kick in NFL history, it did not just beat the Lions at the buzzer, etched Tucker's name into football immortality. The ball hit the crossbar, bounced up, and spun through, electrifying the stadium. That single play showed how far the science, training, and precision of kicking had come since Tom Dempsey's legendary 63-yarder decades earlier. And it reminded everyone that no lead is safe, no victory secure, until the kicker has spoken. And then there is the emotional side of kicking history. In 2018, when the Philadelphia Eagles stunned the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52, rookie kicker Jake Elliott calmly hit a 46-yarder in the fourth quarter to give Philadelphia the cushion it needed to pull off the upset. Fans remember Nick Foles and the Philly Special. But Elliott's ice-cold performance gave Eagles fans their first ever Lombardi Trophy. For lifelong Philadelphia supporters, his kick symbolized release, triumph, and joy after decades of waiting. Beyond championships and records, kickers have often been the center of resilience stories. In 2017, Buffalo Bills kicker Stephen Hauska became known as Mr. Automatic from 50+, hitting an incredible string of long-range field goals that helped keep Buffalo competitive. That streak provided momentum to a team fighting for playoff positioning and reinforced the idea that a kicker can be a strategic weapon, not just a fallback. What ties all of these historic kicker moments together is not just accuracy or leg strength, but timing. Kickers live in moments defined by pressure, where failure is magnified and success is immortalized. A quarterback can throw 40 passes. A running back can carry the ball 20 times, but a kicker may only get one chance to define an entire season. That razor-thin margin makes their success stories all the more inspiring. The truth is, every defining kick echoes through history. They live on in highlight reels, in the memories of fans, and in the identity of franchises. Dempsey's record breaker told us to never underestimate determination. Vinatieri's clutch field goals told us that dynasties sometimes rest on the slimmest of margins. Tucker's 66-yarder told us that the limits of human performance are still being tested. If we strip away those kicks from history, entire storylines collapse. Without Vinatieri, do the Patriots become a dynasty? Without Tynes, do the Giants upset perfection? Without Tucker, do the Ravens even remain in playoff contention? These questions reveal the hidden truth. Kickers are not just supporting characters in NFL history. They are often the very authors of its greatest plot twists. As fans, when we look back, it is impossible not to feel chills at these defining moments. The silence before the snap. The crisp sound of the kick. The ball spinning through the air while millions of hearts pound in unison. And then the eruption, the roar of a crowd that knows destiny has just shifted. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is that history continues to prove one truth again and again. Underestimating kickers is a mistake. Because when the season is on the line, when legacies hang in the balance, and when dreams can either live or die in a single heartbeat, it is the kicker who so often decides the outcome. The psychology of NFL kickers is one of the most fascinating yet under-discussed elements of professional sports. Unlike quarterbacks who touch the ball on every offensive snap or linebackers, rack up tackles each drive. A kicker may wait on the sideline for long stretches only to be summoned in a high-pressure moment where one swing of the leg determines victory or defeat. This unique rhythm of inactivity and sudden spotlight has forged a mental landscape unlike any other in football. Kickers have to stay calm, focused, and mentally sharp even when the entire stadium waits with breath held. Sports psychologists often describe kickers as athletes who must master selective attention. That means filtering out the deafening noise of the crowd, the looming weight of the scoreboard, and even the enormity of playoff implications, focusing solely on the fundamentals of their motion. It is a performance that blends technical precision with an almost meditative mindset. Fans see a ball snapped, held, and kicked. But within that process lies years of mental conditioning, visualization, and resilience training that separates good kickers from great ones. One of the most powerful aspects of mental toughness for kickers is their ability to compartmentalize. In football, mistakes happen all the time. A running back fumbles, a cornerback gets burned, or a quarterback throws an interception. Those players have another chance on the next series to redeem themselves. A kicker does not always have that luxury. If they miss a game-winning attempt, that moment may define the headlines and hang on their legacy for weeks. The best kickers are those who can immediately shut the door on failure and reset their mind for the next opportunity. History provides plenty of examples of this psychological strength. Adam Vinatieri, known as one of the most clutch kickers in NFL history, thrived in snowstorms, playoff games, and Super Bowls. He once said that pressure is simply something you feel when you're not prepared. His mindset exemplifies how great kickers use preparation to guard against the mental toll of pressure. By endlessly repeating mechanics in practice and visualizing every possible scenario. Kickers like Vinatieri create a mental framework that shields them from anxiety in the biggest moments. The mental toughness of a kicker also extends to how they handle solitude. Unlike other positions, kickers often train separately, spending hours perfecting technique while the rest of the team runs plays. They may not be in the huddle or the center of locker room chatter. This isolation requires inner confidence and self-belief. A kicker must embrace the reality that their role is different, but equally vital. Many sports psychologists compare them to closers in baseball or goalkeepers in soccer. They must thrive on being the last line of success, knowing their performance can swing an entire game's narrative. Confidence is perhaps the most essential psychological trait of all. A kicker who doubts himself is already defeated before the ball is snapped. Legendary Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, widely considered the best of his generation, once explained that confidence comes from a deep well of preparation. He treats every practice kick like a live game rep, creating habits so reliable that by the time he steps on the field in real conditions, it feels routine. This ability to make extraordinary moments feel ordinary is the hallmark of mental toughness. Equally important is the kicker's relationship with failure. No kicker is perfect. Even Tucker has missed in critical spots. The defining factor is not whether a miss occurs, but how quickly a kicker recovers mentally. The great ones, like Morton Anderson or Gary Anderson, developed the resilience to keep their careers thriving even after high-profile disappointments. They understood that longevity requires perspective. A single miss does not define a season or a career. It is the ability to line up again with unwavering belief that sets legends apart. Interestingly, the rise of sports psychology in the NFL has elevated how teams support their kickers. In earlier decades, the mental burden was often ignored. Kickers were expected to shake it off and deal with the emotional strain alone. Today, organizations invest in mental performance coaches, visualization tools, and mindfulness training. This modern emphasis has not only improved kicker consistency, but also normalized the idea that mental toughness is something trained and developed, not just an inherent trait. Fans often underestimate the mental demands of weather and stadium environments. A kicker in Green Bay in December must not only battle wind and icy turf, but also the psychological effect of knowing conditions could compromise mechanics. Mental toughness means trusting preparation even when external factors feel overwhelming. Vinatieri's famous snowball kick against the Raiders in 2001 illustrates this perfectly. In blizzard conditions, when visibility was low and footing nearly impossible, he executed flawlessly because he blocked out the uncontrollable variables and trusted his mechanics. Another overlooked aspect of kicker psychology is routine. Most elite kickers develop pre-kick rituals designed to anchor their mind. Whether it is a specific number of steps back, a breath control exercise, or a visualization of the ball's trajectory, these routines create a sense of normalcy in chaotic situations. Psychologists explain that rituals reduce anxiety by focusing the mind on controllable elements. When 70,000 fans are screaming, a kicker's ritual is their sanctuary. The spotlight moments, like playoff game winners or Super Bowl attempts, showcase the pinnacle of mental resilience. Consider Scott Norwood's infamous miss in Super Bowl 25, while remembered as a heartbreaking failure. It also highlighted the razor-thin margins kickers live with. Decades later, the evolution of mental preparation has helped prevent many of those crushing outcomes. Modern kickers are equipped with tools to maintain composure that past generations simply did not have. In the modern NFL, mental toughness is not just about game-winning kicks. It is about thriving over long careers. Kickers often play into their late 30s and even 40s, requiring them to maintain not only physical conditioning, but also the psychological stamina to stay motivated and confident year after year. The ability to adapt, handle criticism, and keep composure in both triumph and adversity is what makes the position so unique. Beyond the professional field, the mental strength of NFL kickers offers lessons for all fans. Their mindset teaches us the value of focus under pressure, the importance of preparation, and the resilience needed to move past mistakes. Every time a kicker walks onto the field, they demonstrate that success is not just about talent, but about mental mastery. For young athletes, the example set by kickers proves that no moment is too big if you believe in your preparation. For fans, it deepens appreciation for a position that might otherwise seem simple. And for the NFL itself, the mental toughness of kickers continues to prove that this so-called specialist's position is actually a psychological battlefield that tests some of the strongest minds in sports. The psychology and mental toughness of kickers are not side stories to football. They are central to the drama of the game. Every overtime thriller, every playoff nail-biter, and every walk-off win is a reminder that the quiet figure on the sideline may hold the mental edge that defines a season. Their strength is not only in the leg, but in the mind, and it is time we celebrated that with the same enthusiasm we give to quarterbacks and wide receivers. Because when the game is on the line, it is the kicker's mental toughness that transforms pressure into triumph. When people talk about football and analytics, most think of quarterbacks, fourth down conversions, or defensive schemes. Rarely do kickers dominate that conversation. But in reality, the numbers tell us a story that fans are only now beginning to appreciate. Analytics has revealed that kickers are not just role players. They are central to winning strategies, and data proves it. For decades, coaches trusted their gut. Do you attempt the long field goal or punt to play field position? Do you go for the two-point conversion or let your kicker handle the extra point? These choices once came down to instinct. But today, thanks to data-driven decision-making, every yard and every kick is calculated. The hidden numbers show just how powerful kickers really are. Let's start with expected points, or EP. Analysts use it to measure how much value a team gains or loses from each play. A made field goal might add 2.7 expected points, while a miss could cost you nearly 3. Those swings matter. In tight games, that margin often decides victory or defeat. This is why coaches now consult probability models before deciding whether to trust their kicker. And more than ever, the numbers trust them. Field goal percentage is the obvious stat, but analytics goes deeper. We now know where each kicker performs best. Heat maps show accuracy by distance and angle. Coaches can design game plans around those strengths. If a kicker is 90% accurate from the left hash at 45 yards, you can call plays to set him up there. That's not chance, it's strategy built on hard numbers. And those numbers have skyrocketed in the modern era. In the 1970s, NFL kickers made just over 60% of their field goals. Today, league-wide averages hover around 85%. That 25-point jump is one of the most dramatic improvements of any position in football. Analytics helps us see this not as luck, but as the product of refined mechanics, improved equipment, and smarter coaching. Take Justin Tucker, widely recognized as the most accurate kicker in NFL history. His career field goal percentage sits above 90%, a number once thought impossible. But data shows why. His launch angles are nearly identical on every kick. His contact time with the ball is among the fastest ever recorded. And when coaches use probability models, they know his chances of hitting from 60 yards are better than some kickers. At 45, that's analytics rewriting the way we value players. Win probability models also reveal hidden truths. A field goal late in the second quarter might not seem dramatic, but statistically, it can raise a team's chance of winning by 5% or more. Imagine that impact over an entire season. Suddenly, every attempt matters. Kickers aren't just scoring 3 points, they're tilting the odds of victory. Let's not forget about extra points. After the NFL moved the kick back to 33 yards in 2015, success rates dropped from 99% to about 94%. That might sound small, but analytics shows the ripple effect. One missed extra point can shift endgame strategy, forcing coaches into 2-point conversions or riskier fourth down plays. Kickers became even more vital after that rule change because every decision hinged on whether they delivered. Then there's distance. Fans love the drama of a 60-yard field goal attempt. But analytics shows why they matter beyond the highlight reel. A successful long field goal can flip win probability by double digits. Think about Tucker's record-setting 66-yarder against the Lions. Without that kick, Baltimore loses. With it, they win. Analytics tells us it was on tee. Just 3-point sit was the single most valuable play of the game. And it's not only about makes. Data reveals that even attempting a long field goal can shape the opponent's behavior. If a defense knows you're willing to let your kicker try from 62 yards, they have to defend differently. Field position strategy changes. Fourth down defense tightens, all because of the numbers behind one player's leg. Coaches now use expected field goal value charts to make real-time choices. These models combine wind speed, stadium elevation, turf conditions, and kicker history. At Mile High Denver, for example, kicks travel farther thanks to thinner air. Analytics show success rates that are significantly higher from long range. Smart teams adjust, letting their kicker try attempts they'd avoid elsewhere. That's not guesswork, it's science meeting sport. Analytics also highlights the mental side. Pressure kicks are tracked differently from routine attempts. Win probability added in the final 2 minutes often carries twice the weight. Data shows certain kickers thrive in those moments, hitting above their average when the stakes are highest. That's why some players earn reputations as clutch performers. It's not myth, it's backed by numbers. Another hidden number is points above expectation. This measures how many points a kicker adds compared to the league average from the same distances. Elite kickers regularly add 15 to 20 points a year. That's like scoring 2 extra touchdowns without the offense lifting a finger. Analytics reframes kickers as silent point machines, shifting games without fanfare. Let's compare that to quarterbacks. A great quarterback might add 50 to 70 expected points in a season. A top-tier kicker contributing 20 doesn't sound as dramatic, until you realize those points often come in the most crucial moments when time is low. Pressure is high, and the season hangs in the balance. Analytics proves their value isn't just in volume, but in timing. Data even drives draft decisions. Teams now use advanced models to project kicker performance from college to the pros. Leg strength, launch trajectory, and accuracy splits are all measured. This is why recent drafts have seen more teams investing higher picks in kickers. The numbers show that one reliable leg can secure multiple wins each season. Fans sometimes underestimate this because kickers play only a handful of snaps. But analytics flips that argument. On average, 30% of an NFL game's points come from kicking. That is a massive share of the scoreboard for players who are on the field less than 10% of the time. No other position delivers that kind of efficiency. Social media and fantasy football have only amplified this. Fantasy points show the raw production of kickers week after week. Analytics reveals which kickers consistently outperform projections. Fans now track their performance with the same passion as quarterbacks and running backs, because the data proves their impact on winning fantasy matchups and real NFL games. Special teams efficiency ratings also showcase their value. Teams with elite kickers often finish higher in overall efficiency rankings, which correlates strongly with playoff success. That's not coincidence. Analytics links kicker performance directly to postseason probability. In short, strong kicking equals more wins. Even in overtime, the data is clear. A made field goal doesn't just end the game, changes playoff standings, seeding, and even legacies. Analytics tracks these outcomes, showing how one swing of the leg can alter entire seasons. Coaches who ignore the numbers risk falling behind in today's data-driven NFL. And this isn't slowing down. The future promises even more advanced tracking. Ball chip technology now measures exact velocity, spin rate, and trajectory. Imagine coaches using live analytics mid-game to decide whether to attempt a 64-yarder. Based on real-time ball flight simulations, that future is coming fast, and kickers will be at the heart of it. So when fans talk about analytics in football, they should remember this. The hidden numbers reveal a truth too long overlooked. Kickers are not just specialists. They are strategic weapons, reshaping games with every attempt. The data proves their power, and the modern NFL is finally catching up. When you think of the NFL, the names that often come to mind are quarterbacks, wide receivers, or star defensive players. But hidden in the margins of the game, another revolution has been unfolding. A revolution led not by players themselves, but by the men designing the strategy. Special teams coordinators. These coaches have reshaped the way kickers are valued, deployed, and trusted in the modern NFL. Special teams used to be thought of as the third wheel of football, the forgotten phase behind offense and defense. Kickers were often treated as interchangeable parts, plugged in and swapped out without much consideration for strategy. But that philosophy has changed dramatically over the past 2 decades. And the transformation has been driven by the coordinators, who now recognize just how much a single kick can alter the destiny of a team. Consider how coaches like John Harbaugh, a former special teams coordinator himself, approach the game. Harbaugh has consistently emphasized the importance of field position, kick accuracy, and situational awareness. His philosophy has shaped the Baltimore Ravens into one of the most consistently reliable special teams units in the league. And of course, his trust in Justin Tucker has become a model for how coaching confidence can elevate a kicker to legendary status. This is not a coincidence. Special teams coordinators have become masters at managing the hidden chessboard of football. Where should the kicker be positioned for maximum success? How should game plans adapt based on stadium conditions, altitude, or weather? These questions are no longer afterthoughts. They are central to how teams prepare each week. A great example of this is how coaches now use altitude-based strategy. At Mile High in Denver, kickers have an opportunity to add yards to their leg thanks to thinner air. But it's not simply kick it farther. Special teams coordinators spend the week studying wind patterns, ball flight tendencies, and even mental adjustments needed when moving from sea level to high altitude. What was once left up to instinct is now a science. Beyond geography, the philosophy of coaching has embraced situational deployment. In the past, kickers were only called upon for obvious moments: extra points, field goals when the offense stalled, or kickoffs. Now, coordinators design game plans around the kicker's strengths. They might call for directional kickoffs that pin returners to the sideline, pooch kicks designed to test fielding skills, or long-range attempts that only the best kickers can realistically hit. Bill Belichick, widely known for his defensive genius, has also been one of the most meticulous minds in special teams deployment. His philosophy emphasizes controlling the small details that often swing close games. Belichick's trust in kickers like Adam Vinatieri and Stephen Gostkowski wasn't blind. It was the product of practice routines, mental conditioning, and situational coaching designed to make those moments second nature. One of the biggest shifts in coaching philosophy has been the way coordinators integrate analytics into decision-making. No longer are kickers judged solely on raw percentages. Instead, teams measure performance by expected field goal probability, adjusted for distance, hash mark, wind, and game situation. A 45-yard kick in Buffalo in December is not the same as a 45-yarder indoors in Dallas. Special teams coaches are armed with data, and they use it to guide head coaches on whether to send the kicker out or attempt a fourth down conversion. What's fascinating is how these philosophies create ripple effects across an entire roster. Kickers now spend more time practicing with holders, snappers, and even offensive linemen, building a rhythm that mimics real game conditions. Coaches understand that the kicker is only as good as the operation: the snap, the hold, the block, and the timing. Coordinators drill these units to perfection, knowing that one slip can cost a game. Special teams coordinators have also become psychologists in their own right. They understand the fragile nature of confidence for a kicker, and they work tirelessly to create environments of trust. By giving a kicker clear expectations, constant feedback, and structured routines, they help eliminate doubt. When a coach tells his kicker, "We're counting on you," and backs that up with consistent support, it changes how that player approaches the biggest moments of his career. We've seen legendary examples of this. Gary Zahner, one of the most respected special teams coaches in NFL history, built his reputation on developing kickers through attention to detail and confidence building. He taught not just mechanics, but mindset, treating every kick in practice as if it were the game winner. His philosophy echoes through the league today, shaping how coordinators prepare their specialists. Modern coordinators also know that versatility is king. Kickers are now deployed based on opponent tendencies, facing an elite returner. The philosophy might shift to forcing fair catches with high hang-time kicks. Playing in overtime, the focus becomes setting up field goal range as quickly and efficiently as possible. This situational awareness has elevated kickers from last resort options to integral weapons in the chess match of football. Another sign of evolution is how coaches factor kicker deployment into roster construction. In earlier eras, teams carried one kicker and treated the position as a plug-and-play role. Now, some coaches bring in camp competition specifically to test mental toughness. Others adjust practice reps to simulate hostile environments, blasting crowd noise or practicing in freezing conditions to prepare their kicker for playoff battles. These decisions are all philosophical, designed to make the kicker an extension of the coach's strategic vision. Even practice schedules have evolved. Kickers are no longer isolated specialists off to the side. Coordinators integrate them into team periods, ensuring timing with the offense and syncing strategies with the defense. When the entire team sees the kicker as part of the bigger picture, it fosters respect, and that respect translates to game day trust. Fans have witnessed the results of these coaching philosophies in countless unforgettable moments. Think of Vinatieri's snow kick in the Tuck Rule game, or Justin Tucker's record-breaking 66-yarder against the Lions. Those weren't just the product of talent. They were the culmination of coaching philosophies that prepared the player to succeed in impossible situations. At its core, this revolution in coaching comes down to one idea: maximizing value. A kicker may only touch the ball a handful of times in a game, but the impact of those touches is monumental. Special teams coordinators recognize this truth, and their entire approach revolves around extracting every ounce of value from those moments. The future promises even more evolution. As young coordinators rise through the ranks, many bring with them backgrounds in analytics, sports science, and mental conditioning. Their philosophies are reshaping how kickers train, how they're scouted, and how they're trusted. The NFL of tomorrow may see even more aggressive kicker deployment, with coaches willing to attempt 65-yarders regularly or design kickoff strategies that completely neutralize return threats. Through it all, the common thread is respect. Kickers are no longer seen as just specialists. They are trusted weapons, shaped by coaching philosophies that treat them as critical components of the game. Special teams coordinators have given them that platform, and in doing so, they've quietly revolutionized the sport we love. And as fans, we now get to appreciate the artistry of coaching in those split seconds before a kick. The alignment, the strategy, the trust. All of it reflects a philosophy that elevates a single moment into something legendary. Because in today's NFL, every kick isn't just about points. It's about preparation, philosophy, and the belief of a coaching staff that understands just how much is riding on the smallest details. When we think about NFL kickers today, we're no longer talking about players who just show up on Sunday and hope their swing feels right. No. The position has evolved into one of the most scientifically fine-tuned crafts in all of professional sports. And it all begins with training methods, sports science, and biomechanics. Decades ago, many kickers were part-time players or even converted position guys. Today, they're full-time specialists. That shift came because coaches and scientists began to realize something powerful. The mechanics of a kick are every bit as complex as the throwing motion of a quarterback or the release of a baseball pitcher. And when science entered the picture, the results became undeniable. Let's start with biomechanics. Every kick is a chain reaction: plant foot, hip rotation, leg swing, and contact point. Sports scientists have studied the force angles, torque, and timing down 2 milliseconds. They discovered that even a few degrees of tilt in the plant foot or slight changes in hip alignment can mean the difference between splitting the uprights and hooking wide left. That knowledge has changed how kickers train. Slow motion cameras, motion capture, and 3D modeling are now part of the kicker's toolkit. A kicker can see exactly how their leg whips through the ball, where their hips open, and whether their follow-through carries true. This data doesn't just look cool on film. It teaches efficiency. Kickers learn how to maximize power with less wasted motion, and more importantly, how to repeat the same motion under pressure. But science doesn't just live in the film room. Sports performance labs now test kickers for strength, flexibility, and muscle symmetry. Did you know that elite kickers often have stronger core and hip muscles than many running backs? That's because the true power of a kick isn't just leg strength. It's generated from the entire kinetic chain, beginning at the ground and flowing upward through the body. Strength and conditioning coaches now design custom programs for kickers. These programs emphasize hip mobility, single leg balance, explosive core strength, and hamstring protection. That matters because a kicker's greatest enemy has always been injury, particularly groin and quad strains. With modern training, injury prevention is no longer reactive. It's proactive. Sports science has also changed recovery. In the past, kickers might ice a sore leg and hope for the best. Today, recovery is a science of its own. Cryotherapy, compression therapy, advanced stretching, and even neurological recharging through sleep tracking keep a kicker's leg fresh all season long. When your career might hinge on one December field goal in freezing weather, every ounce of recovery counts. And then, there's the mental side of training, something we touched on before. Sports psychologists now work hand in hand with kickers, not just to manage pressure, but to build confidence through repetition and visualization. Kickers are taught to treat every swing as a routine, almost robotic in precision. That mindset is trained, rehearsed, and backed by data showing how consistent routines reduce anxiety and boost accuracy. Let's not forget technology on the practice field. Many kickers now use wearable sensors that measure strike force, ball speed, and launch angle. Think about it. Quarterbacks have had quarterback ratings, passer efficiency, and metrics for years. Now kickers have their own analytics that tell them if they're re-hitting the ball at peak performance. The data doesn't lie, and when it shows improvement, confidence skyrockets. The evolution of football footwear has also played a role. Today's cleats are lighter, more stable, and engineered for explosive leg drive. Combined with footballs that are standardized to the gram, this allows kickers to feel consistent feedback every single time. Biomechanically, that means fewer surprises and more reliability. You also can't overlook nutrition. Modern NFL kickers treat their diet like Formula One drivers treat fuel. Hydration, muscle recovery foods, and lean protein intake directly affect performance. A kicker's leg is their engine, and every ounce of fuel needs to be optimized. But what truly makes this era of kickers different is how training prepares them for the unpredictable. Wind, rain, snow, swirling stadium currents. These aren't excuses, they're challenges to master. Sports science now includes environmental training. Kickers practice with fans blowing crosswinds, in domes with altered acoustics, and even in virtual simulations that mimic hostile stadium conditions. They're not just building skill, they're building adaptability. Biomechanics has also revealed something fascinating. Consistency matters more than raw power. The longest NFL field goals are celebrated, but week to week. It's the kicker who can repeat the same swing in every stadium that becomes elite. Science has confirmed that the body performs best when muscle memory takes over. That's why training focuses on thousands of reps, but smart reps, not wasted ones. And this is where the next generation of kickers separates themselves. The kids coming up now aren't learning old-school trial-and-error techniques. They're learning with instant feedback, sports science tools, and coaching rooted in biomechanics. They know why their plant foot matters. They know how to adjust their approach based on physics. They're not just kickers. They're finely tuned athletes built for precision. Consider Justin Tucker, the gold standard in modern kicking. His success isn't an accident. He trains with meticulous attention to biomechanics, follows strict sports science routines, and perfects his craft through repetition, grounded in data. He is living proof that when you blend talent with science, the result is excellence. We're also seeing kickers extend their careers longer than ever before. That's because science has unlocked how to maintain leg strength well into a player's 30s and even 40s. Look at Adam Vinatieri, still drilling clutch kicks in his mid-40s. Longevity in kicking used to be rare. Now, with science, it's expected. And the best part? The future looks even brighter. As technology continues to advance, we may see kickers training with AI-powered simulations, robotic swing trainers, and even more precise biomechanics analysis. The days of kicking being undervalued are gone. Now, every ounce of science, every training method, and every biomechanical tweak is proving what fans already know. Kickers win games. In many ways, the evolution of training mirrors the evolution of football itself. Offenses became faster, defenses became smarter, and now special teams have become more scientific. And at the heart of that revolution are kickers, transforming from overlooked specialists into fully recognized, data-driven athletes. This generation of kickers is stronger, smarter, and more reliable than any that came before. They've embraced the union of tradition and innovation. They've taken what was once instinct and turned it into a finely measured craft. And when the game is on the line, those countless hours of biomechanical training and scientific preparation reveal themselves in one simple moment: the sound of the ball sailing perfectly off the foot. Because in the end, all the science, all the data, and all the biomechanics boil down to trust. Trust in the body, trust in the routine, and trust in the preparation. And that is why NFL kickers of today and tomorrow are more than just specialists. They re the product of an evolution powered by sports. Science. When fans talk about the most unforgettable moments in NFL history, one theme comes up again and again: clutch kicks that define games, seasons, and even legacies. Kicking might seem like a small part of football, but when the clock winds down and everything is on the line, kickers are the ones holding the fate of teams, fan bases, and championships in their hands, rather at their feet. It's in these moments where legends are made. Kicks under pressure become more than points. They become iconic chapters in NFL history. Take Adam Vinatieri, for example. No discussion of clutch kickers can begin without his name. He didn't just make field goals, he made history. His kicks in Super Bowls 36 and 38 cemented the New England Patriots dynasty and introduced fans to the idea that a kicker could be the ultimate closer. His snowy game winner against the Raiders in the 2001 Tuck Rule game wasn't just a field goal. It was a career-defining moment that still plays in NFL highlight reels 2 decades later. Moments like that live forever because they happen under impossible conditions. Fans remember the swirling snow, the bitter cold, and the impossible angle, but they also remember the calm, controlled swing of Vinatieri's leg, as if pressure didn't exist. That's the magic of a clutch kicker. Another unforgettable example: Gary Anderson's near-perfect 1998 season. He went 35-4-35 in the regular season and looked untouchable. But when the NFC Championship game came down to his foot, one miss against the Falcons became one of the most shocking moments in league history. Fans didn't just remember the kick he missed. They remember the gravity of the moment and how much weight one field goal carried. Anderson remains one of the greatest, but it shows how razor-thin the line between hero and heartbreak truly is. That fine line is what makes clutch performances so powerful. They remind us that kickers are just specialists. They re the embodiment of football pressure distilled into one swing. Think back to Scott Norwood in Super Bowl 25. The Bills were inches away from their first championship. With seconds left, Norwood lined up a 47-yard attempt. Wide right. The miss became part of football folklore, not because of failure, but because of the sheer magnitude of the moment. For Bills fans, it was heartbreak. For NFL history, it was unforgettable. Clutch moments don't always mean championships. They can also define careers and rewrite perceptions. Take Justin Tucker, already considered one of the most accurate kickers of all time. He hit a 66-yard field goal against the Detroit Lions in 2021, setting the NFL record. What made it legendary wasn't just the distance, but the context. The Ravens needed the win. The game clock was expiring, and Tucker delivered. The ball bounced off the crossbar and through an image burned into the minds of fans forever. That single kick elevated Tucker from great kicker to living legend. Clutch kicking also has a ripple effect on fan emotions. Entire stadiums hold their breath when the kicker jogs out. Millions at home lean forward, eyes locked. Silence falls, anticipation builds, and then neither an eruption of joy or the sting of defeat. Few positions in sports capture drama as perfectly as the kicker in a clutch situation. Evan McPherson's 2021 playoff run is another shining example. As a rookie with the Cincinnati Bengals, McPherson drilled multiple game winners, including a 52-yarder in the AFC Championship to send his team to the Super Bowl. Calm, collected, and confident, he even told teammates, "Looks like we're going to the Super Bowl," before kicking. That swagger under pressure instantly won him fans and showed that clutch DNA built it in a kicker-S mindset from the start. We also can't forget about kickers like Tom Dempsey. Back in 1970, he hit a then-record 63-yard field goal with half a foot. That moment wasn't just about distance, it was about proving the impossible could be done. Dempsey's kick became one of the most talked about highlights of its era, setting the stage for future long-distance legends. And then there's Jan Stenerud, one of the few pure kickers enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, known for his accuracy and composure. Stenerud's impact during clutch games in the 1970s helped establish the kicker as a true weapon in a coach's arsenal. His induction itself is proof that clutch contributions are recognized as part of football's highest honor. What's fascinating is how clutch kicking creates moments that extend far beyond the game. Kids in backyards mimic those kicks, broadcasters replay them endlessly, and fans carry those memories for decades. Vinatieri's snow kick, Tucker's record breaker, Norwood's wide right, Dempsey's bomb. These aren't just plays, they're cultural touchstones. The beauty of clutch moments is how they defy logic. Kickers aren't supposed to thrive under chaos. They're supposed to crack under the weight of millions watching, seasons on the line, and careers in the balance. Yet, time and again, the great ones rise above it. Their poise becomes their legacy. When you think about it, clutch kicking is the perfect drama. Unlike touchdowns or interceptions, the entire spotlight is on one person, one swing, one ball in flight. There are no second chances. It's pass or fail, hero or heartbreak, glory or agony. That's what makes these moments so electric. And it's not just fans who remember. Coaches and teammates know the value of clutch kickers. A great one becomes the safety net. The closer, the player everyone trusts when the game comes down 2 inches. Entire playbooks are built around the belief that our kicker can win it. History proves this. From Super Bowls to playoff thrillers, clutch performances by kickers have defined legacies of teams and franchises. The Patriots dynasty may never have launched without Vinatieri. The Bills' heartbreak may have played out differently if Norwood's kick had sailed inside the uprights. The Ravens' identity is forever tied to Justin Tucker's reliability. These moments show how kickers shape not just games, but entire eras. And fans, they never forget. The cheers echo, the heartbreak lingers, and the legend grows every time a kicker steps into the clutch spotlight. The story of clutch kicking isn't about luck hits, about precision, courage, and the rare ability to stay calm when everything is on the line. These iconic moments remind us why the kicker's role, though often overlooked, is one of the most dramatic and essential in all of sports. When you think about the NFL, change is constant. Rules evolve, strategies shift, coaches adapt. And with every adjustment, the ripple effect touches every position on the field. But few roles have felt the weight of these changes quite like the kicker. Rule changes, overtime drama, and playoff pressure have combined to shine an even brighter spotlight on one of football's most unique and high-stakes positions. Let's start with the rulebook. Because the NFL's adjustments Haven T just altered the pace of the game, they VA transformed the way teams approach the kicking game. And that begins with something as simple, yet as impactful, as the extra point. For decades, the extra point was automatic. Kickers lined up from the 2-yard line, essentially creating a 20-yard kick. The success rate hovered around 99%. Fans hardly paid attention. It was almost a formality after a touchdown. But in 2015, the league pushed the attempt back to the 15-yard line, turning the kick into a 33-yarder. Suddenly, that once ignored play became meaningful. Coaches couldn't assume the point was guaranteed. Kickers were now tasked with hitting a pressure-packed field goal after nearly every touchdown. The result, extra points stopped being a snooze. They became drama. Misses could swing games, momentum, and playoff hopes. It was one of the most subtle yet impactful rule changes in modern NFL history, and it directly elevated the importance of kickers in every contest. But the extra point wasn't the only shift. Kickoffs also changed. The league, concerned with player safety and violent collisions, moved kickoffs from the 30-yard line up to the 35 in 2011. That adjustment increased the number of touchbacks, limiting big returns. For kickers, it introduced a new strategic element: placement. Special teams coordinators began coaching kickers to drop the ball just short of the goal line, forcing returners to bring it out. Suddenly, kickoff strategy wasn't about raw leg power alone. It was about control, hang time, and precision. And then came overtime. Few aspects of NFL football are as controversial or as closely tied to kickers as the overtime format. For years, a team that won the coin toss and managed just a few first downs could line up its kicker, boot a field goal, and win the game without the opposing offense ever touching the ball. Critics said it gave too much power to the kicker. Fans argued it wasn't fair. And games, especially in the playoffs, ended with one leg deciding everything. The league responded in 2010 with a playoff-only adjustment. A field goal on the first possession would no longer end the game. Instead, the opponent would get the ball with a chance to respond. Eventually, that change extended to the regular season. But what remained constant was the pressure. If the game still reached sudden death, one kick could decide everything. Think about the drama that created. Stadiums holding their breath, millions of fans glued to the broadcast, an entire season, months of work, sacrifice, and dreams, resting on a kicker's ability to stay calm under pressure. No other position carries that kind of weight in such a condensed, high-stakes moment. Nowhere is that more evident than in the playoffs. When the postseason begins, every play matters more, and every mistake is magnified. But kickers, they live in that pressure cooker. And history proves just how often playoff games are decided by their leg. From Adam Vinatieri's snow-covered game winners with the Patriots to Evan McPherson calmly drilling bombs for the Bengals in 2021. The kicker has consistently been the one to send teams home, or send them forward. In fact, since the merger, over 20% of all playoff games have been decided by 3 points or fewer. That stat alone highlights the significance of kickers in January football. Teams know it. Fans know it. And every kicker who takes the field in those moments feels it. What's fascinating is how these rule changes and playoff scenarios have reshaped coaching philosophies. Head coaches and coordinators now put far more emphasis on having a reliable kicker. It's no longer just about the offense putting points on the board. It's about ensuring the special teams unit can capitalize when drives stall. It's about knowing your kicker has the range, accuracy, and mental toughness to hit from 50 yards in the cold wind of January. And this ripple effect has altered roster construction. Teams are more willing to invest draft capital in kickers. They're quicker to shuffle kickers in and out if consistency isn't there. The bar has risen. Every coach understands that in the postseason, a single missed kick could erase everything. But it's not just the coaches and players feeling the shift. Fans have become more tuned in as well. Rule changes like the longer extra point made them appreciate that no kick is truly automatic. Over time, rules created debates about fairness, further spotlighting the kicker's role. And in playoff games, fans now anticipate the climactic moment where the kicker decides it all. These adjustments didn't diminish the kicker's importance. They magnified it. Of course, pressure doesn't always produce perfection. For every unforgettable game winner, there's the heartbreak of a miss. Wide left, wide right. Off the upright. Those moments are etched in history just as deeply as the successes. But even in those lows, the drama proves the significance of the position. You can't tell the story of the NFL without telling the story of its kickers. And here's the twist. As rules evolve, the kicker's value only seems to grow. While the league continues exploring changes for safety and competitive balance, one truth remains. Games still come down to kicks. Whether it's an overtime thriller or a playoff showdown, the kicker is the one standing in the spotlight when everything is on the line. That spotlight has never been brighter. Rule changes put kickers front and center on routine plays. Overtime formats made them the difference between victory and heartbreak. And playoff pressure cemented their legacy as game deciders. It's why kickers aren't just specialists. They're strategists. They're game changers. They're the quiet heroes who step up when the rule book, the clock, and the moment demand it. And for fans, that means one thing. The next time you watch a kicker jog onto the field with seconds left, remember the decades of change that placed him there. Remember how the league's evolution has amplified his role. And most importantly, remember that you're watching one of the most pressure-packed jobs in all of professional sports. Because in the NFL, kickers don't just play the game, they finish it. When we talk about NFL history, it's often quarterbacks, wide receivers, and hard-hitting linebackers who dominate the narrative. But in the shadows, and often in the most pressure-filled moments, the kicker has always been there. Yet the way kickers have been perceived, celebrated, or criticized hasn't just depended on their talent or accuracy. Much of their reputation has been shaped by something more elusive: media narratives, fan culture, and public perception. Let's take a step back. In the early decades of professional football, sports writers were the main gatekeepers of how players were remembered. Back then, the kicker was rarely a full-time specialist. Writers focused their ink on the bruising fullbacks or the quarterbacks leading the offense. Kickers were often afterthoughts, mentioned only in the context of the score. So-and-so added the extra point. That was about it. The narrative reflected the era. Football was a battle of toughness, and kickers were seen as technical role players, not warriors. But as the game grew and the stakes of each point increased, the kicker began sneaking into the storylines. When Lou Groza earned the nickname the Toe in the 1950s, it wasn't just because he was reliable, it was because sports writers gave him an identity. That's how media frames work. They don't just describe a player. They build an image, a shorthand, something for fans to latch onto. Groza wasn't just a lineman who also kicked. He was the Toe. That label stuck, and suddenly, kickers could be mythologized. By the 1970s and 80s, television had transformed the NFL, and TV loved drama. What's more dramatic than a game coming down to a final kick with 3 seconds left? The camera zoomed in, the announcers raised their voices, and the kicker walked out into a pressure cooker. With every broadcast moment, the kicker's identity became larger than life. But here's where it got complicated. Media doesn't just amplify success, it immortalizes failure. Wide left, wide right, upright, blocked. Those words spoken on live television became permanent markers. Just ask Scott Norwood. In Super Bowl 25, his 47-yard attempt sailed wide right, and the Bills lost the championship. In Buffalo, fans later embraced Norwood with compassion, but nationally, he was remembered for one miss. That's the power of narrative. One play defined an entire career in the minds of millions. On the flip side, kickers also became instant legends when they delivered. Think of Adam Vinatieri, snow swirling in Foxborough, tuck rule game, 2001 playoffs. The ball sails through the uprights, and suddenly he's Mr. Clutch. Then, 2 Super Bowl winning kicks later, the media narrative locked him in as one of the greatest pressure performers in NFL history. The difference between Norwood and Vinatieri wasn't just accuracy. It was the story that was told about them. And fans took those narratives and ran with them. Every fan base develops its own relationship with its kicker. Some cities, like Chicago, have long memories of heartbreak. Cody Parkey's infamous double doink in the 2018 playoffs still echoes at Soldier Field. Meanwhile, no New England fans still speak about Vinatieri's kicks in hushed, reverent tones. That's the duality of kicker culture. Hero or villain, depending on whether the ball split the uprights. But fan culture isn't only about wins and losses. Sometimes it turns a kicker into a cult figure. Take Pat McAfee, a punter with kicking duties early in his career. His larger-than-life personality, his interviews, his antics on the field, they turned him into a fan favorite. Or look at Justin Tucker today. Baltimore fans don't just respect him for being the most accurate kicker in NFL history. They admire the confidence, the swagger, even the way he belts out opera notes in interviews. That's how fan culture reshapes perception. A kicker isn't just a kicker. They're part of the identity of the franchise. Now, let's bring in the modern wrinkle: social media. In today's NFL, a kicker doesn't just live in highlight reels and newspaper columns. They live on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok feeds, where every miss becomes a meme within seconds. A missed extra point. The clip loops endlessly, accompanied by jokes, ridicule, or support. A game winner. It goes viral, captioned with hashtags and celebratory emojis. This new landscape amplifies the extremes. The love is louder, and so is the criticism. But interestingly, social media has also given kickers their own platforms to control their narratives. Many use it to share their training routines, personal lives, or even humor. This builds connection with fans, softening the edges of criticism. A kicker can now be humanized, not just a name tied to a box score. That shift in perception matters. It shows how media narratives aren't a one-way street anymore. Kickers can tell their own stories. And let's not forget the way media frames positions in general. The quarterback is the field general. The linebacker is the enforcer, the kicker. For years, the label was something like the outsider or the specialist. That framing made it easy for fans to dismiss kickers as less important, even though games often hinged on them. But slowly, with the rise of analytics and recognition of win probability, the narrative is shifting. Analysts on broadcasts now say openly, the kicker is one of the most valuable weapons on the field. That's a significant cultural change. Still, the balance between hero and scapegoat remains razor thin. And that tension is exactly why kickers are fascinating through the lens of media and culture. They exist in extremes. Rarely are they described as just average. They're either the savior or the one who cost the team the game. That's not fair, of course, but it's how public perception works. The narrative exaggerates reality. When you really think about it, kickers reflect something deeper about sports culture itself. Fans crave heroes and villains. Media thrives on simple, dramatic storylines. And kickers, because their role is so concentrated in single, high-pressure moments, are the perfect canvas for those storylines. It's no wonder that when you ask most fans to name a kicker, they'll think of one who either broke their heart or lifted their spirits. And yet, in recent years, there's been a noticeable effort to give kickers more respect. Commentators highlight Justin Tucker's insane accuracy from 60 yards. Analysts break down biomechanics on slow-motion replays. Articles celebrate longevity. Players like Morton Anderson or Gary Anderson who sustained excellence for decades. This recognition is growing because fans and media alike are realizing that these players are just role fillers. They're game changers. So when we talk about media narratives, fan culture, and perception, what we're really talking about is how society processes moments of triumph and failure. Kickers stand at the heart of that story because they embody it more than anyone else. Their careers are judged on snapshots, but those snapshots become legends. Replayed, retold, and remembered in the collective memory of the NFL. And maybe that's what makes the kicker position so special. They don't just split uprights, they split opinions. They're reminders of the fragile line between glory and heartbreak, between being remembered forever and being forgotten except for one miss. The story of the NFL kicker has never been confined to America's borders. While football itself may have been born in the United States, the art of kicking has drawn inspiration, athletes, and innovations from across the globe. Today, as we explore how international talent, global expansion, and cross-sport athletes are shaping the future of NFL kicking, you'll see why the position has become a truly global craft, one that reflects not just the growth of the league, but the blending of cultures and sporting traditions from every corner of the world. Let's rewind to one of the most important historical shifts in NFL kicking: the soccer-style revolution. Before the 1960s, most kickers in the NFL used the straighten technique, striking the ball with the toe. It was predictable, rigid, and limited in distance. Then came international influence, most notably Pete Gogolek, a Hungarian-born player who brought soccer-style kicking to the NFL by turning his body at an angle and using the instep of his foot. Gogolek added both power and accuracy to his kicks. He wasn't just changing a technique, he was changing the trajectory of an entire position. Soon, every team in the league wanted a soccer-style kicker, and within a decade, the straighten kicker had become extinct. That innovation was the first major signal. Global sporting traditions could reshape the American game. And Gogolek wasn't alone. Throughout the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, the NFL saw a wave of kickers from Europe and South America, often with soccer backgrounds. Morten Andersen, born in Denmark, became one of the greatest kickers in league history, playing an astonishing 25 seasons, and scoring more points than nearly anyone else in the game's history. Gary Anderson, from South Africa, carved out his own legendary career with over 2,400 points. These international players didn't just add skill, they added credibility to the idea that the kicker's craft transcended national borders. Their success proved that a player from halfway across the world could walk into the NFL and dominate one of its most specialized roles. Today, the international influence continues to expand. Many of the league's most consistent kickers either trained with soccer or grew up outside of traditional football hotbeds. Cairo Santos, born in Brazil, is a shining modern example. Before he was an NFL kicker, he was a kid who idolized soccer legends like Ronaldinho and Roberto Carlos. That background gave him a unique foundation: the precision of a free kick, the balance of controlling spin, and the rhythm of striking a ball under pressure. When Santos made it to the NFL, he became not just a kicker, but a symbol of the sport's international reach, showing fans in Brazil that the pathway from the soccer pitch to the NFL field was real. The international pipeline isn't limited to soccer, though rugby has also played its part. Players trained in rugby bring a different perspective. They understand open field kicking, directional accuracy, and often thrive under physical pressure. While not as common as soccer to football transitions, rugby-trained players have appeared in both the NFL and collegiate levels, providing yet another avenue for global crossover. The more the NFL expands its international games, whether in London, Mexico City, or Germany, the greater the chance that kids watching overseas will imagine themselves as specialists in the league. And speaking of expansion, let's zoom out for a moment. The NFL's push into international markets is not just about growing fan base, it's about growing talent. With programs like the International Player Pathway, the league has begun scouting athletes globally and giving them a chance to develop at the highest level. While the pathway has focused on multiple positions, the kicker role stands out as one that is perfectly suited to international crossover. Why? Because kicking doesn't require growing up with a deep understanding of American football strategy. It requires mechanics, mental toughness, and discipline traits that translate across sports and continents. The more the NFL invests in global talent, the more likely we are to see the next Morten Andersen or Cairo Santos come from places like Australia, South America, or even Asia. But it's not just the global game expanding it. It's the way cross-sport athletes are reshaping the kicker identity. Time and again, we've seen athletes with soccer or track backgrounds walk into college programs and then into the NFL. They bring not only transferable skills, but also new ways of thinking about kicking mechanics. Think about it. A soccer player might focus on bending the ball, striking it cleanly with the instep, or controlling trajectory. Those same skills apply directly to field goals and kickoffs. The NFL is benefiting from that evolution because every cross-sport athlete adds a layer of innovation that pushes the boundaries of what a kicker can achieve. Even outside soccer and rugby, we've seen unique transitions. Some kickers come from track and field backgrounds, particularly athletes with explosive lower body strength. Others have emerged from less traditional pipelines, proving that elite leg power, when trained with proper technique, can produce NFL-level results. The diversity of pathways reflects the reality. The NFL kicker is no longer a narrow archetype. He can be a global traveler, a cross-sport athlete, a former soccer prodigy, or a kid who honed his leg strength in another discipline before discovering football. This global and cross-sport expansion is more than just about filling roster spots at S, about raising the ceiling of the position. With better biomechanics informed by soccer and rugby science, kickers are improving accuracy at longer distances. With sports science and international training methods, kickers are increasing leg strength and endurance. And with the league opening its doors to international players, fans across the world are beginning to see themselves represented in a game once thought to be purely American. That representation matters. It builds pride, expands audiences, and inspires new generations to pursue the position. There's also a cultural layer to all of this. For decades, the kicker was sometimes treated as an outsider, even within NFL locker rooms. But international talent has changed that perception. When a player like Morten Andersen walks in and becomes one of the league's most reliable scorers, teammates take notice. When Cairo Santos drills a clutch kick and becomes a hero to Brazilian fans, the league itself begins to recognize the global potential. These narratives are changing the way fans and players view the kicker not as an afterthought, but as a cultural bridge, a specialist who connects the NFL to the rest of the world. As we look to the future, the possibilities are exciting. Imagine a generation of kickers trained with global soccer academies, combining elite footwork with NFL-specific mechanics. Picture athletes from rugby nations bringing tactical awareness and powerful strikes to the field. Envision a league where the kicker pipeline stretches across continents, making the NFL not just America's game, but the world's. That future isn't far away, it's already beginning. With the names we've mentioned, and with the league's growing international footprint, the kicker may just be the most globalized position in the NFL, and it's paving the way for a new era of athletic specialization. The kicker's evolution is not only about talent, but also about symbolism. Every time an international player lines up for a field goal, they carry more than their team's hopes, they carry the pride of a nation watching. That pride fuels passion, and that passion fuels growth. As the NFL embraces this global reality, one thing becomes clear. The future of kicking is not limited by borders. It's open to anyone, anywhere, with the skill, the discipline, and the dream. When we began this journey, we set out to uncover the story of the NFL's most overlooked, most scrutinized, and yet most indispensable position, the kicker. And now, at the end, looking back across decades of football history, the picture is clearer than ever. The kicker's role has never been static. It has evolved, adapted, and risen to the moment time and again. Their legacy is not just about points on a scoreboard. It is about timing, trust, and transformation. It is about the rare ability to thrive when everything, the season, the pride of a city, and the hopes of teammates, is riding on a single swing of the leg. From the grainy black and white film of the early NFL, where kickers were little more than afterthoughts, to today's era of laser-focused specialists drilling 60-yard field goals with machine-like precision, the kicker's journey mirrors the sport itself, ever-changing, ever-demanding, ever rising to new challenges. Once viewed as outsiders, often recruited from soccer programs or treated as second-class citizens on rosters, kickers gradually became essential. Slowly but surely, their impact grew undeniable. They did not win respect overnight. They earned it, one clutch kick at a time. Think of the legends who redefined what was possible. Adam Vinatieri, with ice in his veins, didn't just hit field goals. He delivered championships. Justin Tucker, the modern technician, doesn't just kick with strength. He does so with a level of precision that borders on artistry. Morten Andersen, Gary Anderson, Jan Stenerud. Names that once seemed unusual on rosters became household names because of their boots, their consistency, and their nerves under pressure. Each of them left behind more than statistics. They left a blueprint of what the position could mean. But beyond individuals, the position itself reshaped strategy. Coaches began to understand that games could not be scripted without accounting for the kicker. Special teams coordinators started to refine the craft, treating field position and kicking units not as footnotes, but as cornerstones. Fans, once dismissive, began holding their breath when kickers lined up, realizing that in those fleeting seconds of silence before the snap, everything they had cheered for could be decided. And that's the truth at the heart of the kicker's legacy. No one else in football carries a burden so disproportionate to their time on the field. They might take only a handful of plays, but each one can decide history. In no other role do moments matter more than minutes. In no other role can one man stand isolated, with millions watching, and dictate the outcome with a single strike. As the league evolved, so too did the perception. Media narratives once ridiculed the kicker, the non-football football player, the guy who barely broke a sweat during warm-ups. But today, those same outlets praise their poise, highlight their range, and analyze their biomechanics with the seriousness once reserved only for quarterbacks. Fan culture has shifted too. Yes, frustration still boils over when a kick is missed. Yes, memes and criticism can spread like wildfire. But increasingly, fans also recognize the skill, preparation, and psychology required to succeed in that unforgiving role. And make no mistake, the psychology is as much the kicker's weapon as the leg itself. To stand alone on that field, blocked out from the chaos, drowned in silence and noise at once, and execute. That is something most athletes never face. Quarterbacks, linebackers, receivers, they share the load with teammates, but the kicker's test is solitude. Their defining trait is not just accuracy, not just distance, but composure. That ability to breathe, reset, and deliver when failure is the most visible option. That is their legacy. In reflecting on their evolution, we also see their importance to the future. As the NFL expands internationally, as training methods become more advanced, as the game itself grows more precise, the kicker remains central. Every rule change, every shift in strategy, every moment of playoff pressure only amplifies their role. Over time, formats may change, but who do coaches rely on in sudden death situations? The kicker. Playoff games may hinge on drives, but who decides the outcome after 60 minutes of battle? The kicker. Even in a sport built on collisions and chaos, the leg of one player often writes the final word. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful reflection of all. The kicker embodies the balance of football. A game defined by brute force often comes down to finesse. A sport that celebrates physical dominance is sealed by precision. A league that thrives on noise and spectacle rests its outcome in the quiet moment before a kick. In the kicker, we see the paradox of the NFL, the violence and the artistry, the chaos and the calm, the many and the one. So, what is the kicker's legacy? It is not just the points they score, the records they break, or the championships they secure. It is the reminder that greatness in football is not limited to one mold. It is the proof that every role matters, that even the smallest sliver of time can shape destiny. It is the evidence that courage does not always roar. Sometimes, courage is the stillness of a kicker lining up, steadying his breath and delivering when everything is on the line. And as fans, as storytellers, as lovers of this game, we must recognize the kicker not as an afterthought, but as an icon. For every quarterback drive, for every defensive stand, for every highlight reel catch, there is often a kicker waiting to finish the story. And when that story ends in triumph, when the ball sails true, it is not just a kick. It is a legacy, immortalized in memory, etched into history, and felt in the roar of a stadium, united in a single sound: celebration. This, then, is the enduring importance of the kicker in NFL history. They are the bookends of games, the exclamation marks on victories, the calm at the center of storms. They are not side characters. They are storytellers in their own right. And though their time on the field may be brief, their impact is eternal. The journey of the kicker is the journey of football itself: resilience, adaptation, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. And as long as the game is played, as long as the ball is kicked, their story will never be overlooked again. Because in the NFL, legends are not only thrown, tackled, or caught. Sometimes they are kicked. In the story of football, amid the roaring crowds, crushing tackles, and dazzling touchdowns, there exists a role often overlooked yet impossible to ignore: the kicker. The player whose entire career can be defined in one heartbeat, one swing of the leg, one soaring ball under the weight of impossible pressure. We began this journey by tracing the roots of kicking, back to a time when kickers were afterthoughts, little more than spare parts on rosters. Early games often treated kicking as secondary, a quirky add-on to the real battles unfolding in the trenches. But as football grew, so too did the realization that this one specialized skill, the ability to split the uprights, could make or break entire seasons. From straightened approaches to the revolutionary soccer-style kickers who forever changed the mechanics of the game, we saw evolution take shape. Pioneers like Pete Gogolak and Jan Stenerud didn't just shift how the ball was struck, they reshaped how teams thought about strategy. Opening the door for a new breed of athlete, explored the science, the perfect plant foot, the physics of launch angle, the balance between power and precision. Suddenly, it wasn't just about getting a kickoff. It was about repeatable mechanics, mental toughness, and adapting to swirling winds, frozen fields, and the heaviest of expectations. But even as technique advanced, perception lagged behind. For decades, kickers were dismissed as outsiders, sometimes even mocked as not being real football players. They were celebrated in glory, but scapegoated in failure. No position carried such extremes, forgotten when they did their job, infamous when they faltered. And yet, time and again, the kicker proved indispensable. We remembered the legendary boots that etched themselves into history. Adam Vinatieri's ice-cold kicks in snowstorms and Super Bowls. Tom Dempsey's 63-yard thunderbolt struck with half a foot. Scott Norwood's wide right, forever a symbol of heartbreak. Gary Anderson's rare miss that shifted a dynasty's fate. These weren't just plays, they were cultural moments. They became part of football's mythology. The pressure only mounted with rule changes, overtime battles, and playoff formats. Suddenly, the kicker wasn't just part of the game. It often was the game. Sudden death, double overtime. Entire franchises hanging on a single kick. We saw how media shaped perception, how talk shows and headlines painted kickers as either heroes with ice in their veins or goats who cost everything. Fans, too, contributed to the mythology, sometimes rallying behind their kicker, other times cruelly turning away. And yet, in the heart of it all, every kicker knew the truth. Theirs was a job of silence, solitude, and singular focus. As the game expanded globally, new waves of talent emerged. Rugby players, Australian rules, football stars, soccer converts brought fresh approaches, strengthening the pipeline of kicking talent. Cross-sport athletes found their way into the NFL, and the once mocked role became a position of international opportunity. Through all of it, one reality remained clear. The kicker is football's paradox. The loneliest position, yet the most defining in the clutch. The most criticized, yet the most relied upon. The smallest frame on the field, yet the one who often carries the heaviest burden. And so, this journey closes where it began, with respect. Respect for the countless hours of practice. Respect for the quiet resilience. Respect for the way one leg swing can echo through history. The kicker is not a sideshow. The kicker is not an afterthought. The kicker is a symbol of the very heart of competition. The idea that in the tightest of moments, when everything is on the line, greatness can emerge from the most unexpected places. From the first pioneers to the clutch legends, from ridicule to reverence. The story of the kicker is the story of football itself. Unpredictable, dramatic, and endlessly human. This is their legacy, their evolution, their enduring importance in the history of the game we love. And as long as football is played, the spotlight will always find the kicker. Because when everything is on the line, theirs is the foot that decides it all.